if you search Langchain Question Answering, you get the docs. And the docs are here. You could see the API for it. So here, you can see that there's a couple steps. You load your documents. Here you're using text loader. It's taking a text file. And here you create a loader. And then you create your index. So here we're importing vector store index creator. And you're creating an index from that loader, so from these loaders. And then you can create a query. And from that index, you could do index.query. Right, so here it's saying, what did the president say about Ketanji Brown Jackson? And alternatively, you could do .query with sources. So I think it should be very natural for our question to be, is what is query with sources? Or what is query? There's a couple of different ways to do this question answering as well. So here's an example where you're importing the load QA chain function, and load QA chain takes an LLM and a chain type. And here we do chain.run. Well, what is QA chain? So when you're confused about these things and you're developing a prompt engineering application, the question you should ask yourself is, what is the actual prompt? Because that's really the important bit that breaks up the mystery. Right, so if you go to Langchain and you go to search the repo, and I search load QA chain, I find that load QA chain, here it's a function, and here's where it's defined. So here's in the init, load QA chain, it takes that LLM, which is a base language model, has a chain type, which defaults to stuff. It has a loading mapper, so this looks like the functions for the chain type. Here's stuff, map reduce, refine, map re-rank. And here's the load stuff chain. And what is this returning? This is returning loader mapper as a dictionary, passing your chain type of stuff, and then we're calling load stuff chain with these arguments, LLM, verbose, callback manager. So what is load stuff chain? Well, if you look around for it, here we can see that it's defined right here on line 54. The load stuff chain has a prompt. Here's the stuff prompt. Get prompt passes in this LLM. Okay, so what is the stuff prompt? This is what we care about right now the most. So the prompt could be the second argument to this load stuff chain, or this stuff prompt.prompt selector. Let's go back a little bit and see if we actually pass in an argument to that. We did not, so we don't pass an argument. So it's going to use its default, right? So what's the default? It's stuff prompt.prompt selector.get prompt. What is stuff prompt? So we can continue on. Stuff prompt is in langchain.change.question answering. We're importing stuff prompt. So let's go to question answering and let's try to figure out what this is. Here we're importing it from chains, and let's see if this GitHub will find it for me. It's not finding it for me, but we can find it ourselves manually. So right here, this is the repo. We can look in chains, we can look in question answering, and we can look at this import, and the import here, stuff prompt. Click on this. Perfect. So this is the actual prompt template. Use the following pieces of content to answer the question at the end. If you don't know the answer, just say that you don't know. Don't try to make up an answer. Here's some context. Okay, so this context is going to be passages that we're pulling from our PDF or our text document or anything else. It's going to be any relevant content that we can use to answer the question, right? So imagine this is like 3 pieces of content. Okay, we have a question. So this is the user question that we ask in the UI. and then they're doing helpful answer dash. So you can think about this very simply as what would it look like if you tried this in ChatGPT. Misspelled chat there. So if you did this in ChatGPT, you would get a similar answer to what you would get if you were using Langchain, right? So here's a prompt. Use the following pieces of content to answer it. And imagine we had some context. So I'm going to make it up here, and I'm going to say, my house is blue. Oops. Okay, so it knows that it's missing some text, right? So let's try another one, and let's try to make it faster. So we're going to use 3.5 here. Perfect. And we're going to say, my house is blue. And I believe Shift Enter will make it a new line. My car is green. My dog is brown. I think that's fine. It's enough context. So the question is, what color is my car? Right? Your car is green. So this is exactly what Langchain is doing. It's taking in this context, we're passing it a question, and it's going to return an answer. So Langchain is going to keep a chat history so I can keep going. So what color is my house? My house is blue. What color is my friend's car? Oops. But you get it. It doesn't have my friend's Kessar or my friend's car color, right? I'm sorry, I don't have access to the information about your friend's car or any specific information about people you know. Perfect, right? This is exactly what our Langchain code is doing, right? This is the last step. After we parse some context from our PDFs, our documents, or whatever, it's putting in a list of information, and then it's asking a question. If you want me to keep diving into Langchain code, go ahead and put any function, any code path, and I will be happy to really dig into the source code and break the mystery behind Langchain.